Hello everyone, I'm Caleb Gillock, and today I'm joined by Senior Pastor Jeff Johnson and Church Elder Eric Stewart. Today we're going to talk about the vision of the church in the past and where it's at now, as well as the future. Thanks for joining me and taking some time out of your day today, you guys.
Thanks, Caleb. Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, just start off by telling us a brief history of the church.
Wow, well, Jeff can't really do that because he doesn't have that history, I don't think. And I've got some. I have to admit up front, and those who have been through that history of the church know that I was not heavily involved in the church in its whole location in downtown Cadiz. But my wife and I were married in that church, so I do have some familiarity with it. It was a great little church. We probably had, our average attendance was probably about in the 50 vicinity, something like that. I mean, people were just really nice, so that has never changed about this church. Even as it has grown and become 4 times that size, it still has that same foundational feel to it when you walk into the church, which is really cool, and it's obviously a God thing that happens. But here's a key difference between then and now, and that is the amount of young kids that are in the church. When we were in the old building, I could have possibly been the youngest person at that time in the building. I don't know. I was pretty close to it. There just weren't a lot. There were some kids. I don't want to say there were none, but it was a very small part of it. That's, if you talk to people who have been in the church for that period of time, that's one of the biggest things that they love about the church now versus the church then. Is that there are a lot of kids here, and it just gives the vitality to a church that you can't get really any other way. So I think that would be they would see that as a big difference, and I would too, between then and now.
I think that something David said one time, studies he's done prove that parents will only take their family to a place that's as nice as the home they live in. And that is really cool when you think about the beautiful building we have here. Not so cool when you think about going outside to a building that on the outside looks like it needs some serious work. Inside, we've done a pretty good job of patching it up and hiding the flaws. Right. Besides, the 2 buildings are disconnected. In the wintertime, it becomes pretty obvious that these 2 buildings stand in stark contrast from each other, and you've got to go through snow and ice at times to get there. Right. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of wanting to get to that place. So if you're not attracted to it, if it doesn't look like your own home, I'm afraid there are new families or visiting families that, for that reason, may not come back.
Yeah. So how did we come to the decision to build this new building?
Well, we were forced at some level to come to this decision. I mean, we knew that there were a lot of repairs that needed to be done on the big house, and we had a good idea of how much it was going to cost to do it. And at some point, you become somewhat upside down in a building. It's going to cost more to repair it than it's really going to be worth when it's done, and also from a standpoint of longevity. So that was probably the biggest catalyst. It certainly wasn't the starting point.
No, we started
for that
years
decision.
ago talking about that.
Yeah, we have. We were, again, Jeff and I were talking about this not too long ago. I would say it's been at least 6 years.
It was before David.
Yeah,
was
it was. Because I remember when we interviewed David, that's one of the things that we talked about was our desire to do this. So there has been a lot of prayer. We have a retreat each summer, spring. We do it sometime during the summertime. And many years we have talked about this.
Every year it seems it's on the agenda. It's a huge topic. We talk and talk about it, and we walk away not doing anything about it.
The decision of when to do it and doing it now, we have really, probably over the last 2 or 3 years, made a concerted effort to have kids up front in the service doing something where people would see them. And
because we stick them back in a trailer, they never see them. They never see what kids are to our church.
Yeah.
They're a huge part of our church.
Yeah. And having those kids up front, and then having the big house in the condition that it was in seemed a little bit out of kilter, honestly, to where, we're like, if kids are really that important to us, that we really want to have them up front, we want people to know that we have some great kids in this church, we really need to, do an upgrade. on that. So I think that was part of it too. It was that whole concept.
Do you remember our first plan was to actually put a building out front? Because we had talked about
Yeah,
so much. We want
that's
to bring
right.
our kids up front. We want to bring our kids up front. And it just seemed so natural. Well, of course, let's take over the parking lot with a building out front. That's
Yeah.
all for the kids. And of course, totally impractical,
Yeah.
but it was a fun dream.
All right, last question. We've seen and heard the phrase equal sacrifice, not equal gifts. Tell us a little bit about that and what it means.
I'm glad that you said you had seen it and heard it, Caleb, because if you hadn't, we have really failed at what we were trying to do. So
What we want to do so badly is just take away that whole comparison when it comes to how much I can give to the campaign and realize this is a spiritual commitment. And God doesn't ask us to compare the amounts we give. He asks us to compare the sacrifice that we give. He modeled it for us. He sent his son and gave us everything. And he says, what I want you to do is feel this. It should impact you in some way. You let me worry about the $600,000. You take care of the sacrifice.
the reason there's 3 goals up there is because we want people to know, among other things, that it is not just about raising $600,000. It is about sacrificial giving. And sacrificial giving may equal $600,000, and it may not. But if it's sacrificial giving, God will be pleased, and he'll take care of whatever we need, at that point. Man, the payoff that we have seen, the ways we've seen God working in this campaign, truly does make it, for lack of a better term, worth the price of admission. It really has been a tremendous journey, and we don't intend for it to stop when we have First Fruit Sunday. We intend for it to continue. We want the momentum to continue. So those people who are leading now, we're going to challenge them to continue to lead in other areas of the church. The people who have learned now to give sacrificially, we're going to challenge them to keep giving sacrificially, going forward, and challenge ourselves in that process as well. So it's just been a tremendous project. I don't know in my history with this church that we have ever done anything of this scope that has grown this church in a short period of time as much as it has.
And we don't even know what the long-term effect is going to be.
Yeah, we don't.
And I'm not talking about the number that we end up
Yeah.
with or the residual numbers that we end up with. I'm talking about the youth that have witnessed us sacrifice.
Yeah,
The children who someday will hear stories about how we have sacrificed.
yeah.
And the things that they're going to grow up in and learn about Jesus and go on from here and do. We have no idea the kind of impact, but we've seen the beginning of it, and it's exciting.
And we've seen, I'm glad that we're in front of this historical board for this video, because these people, many of them are seeing now the results of their sacrificial giving. And it was sacrificial.
From years ago.
Yeah, from years ago. And now this new generation, if you will, is going to experience what they're experiencing now, maybe 15, 20 years, 30 years down the road, and it's going to be a great thing. And then hopefully they're going to raise up another generation that's going to do the same thing and come to the same truths that they've come to in their lives. So it's very cool to see God at work.
Yes, it is.
All right, well, thank you for you guys' time today.
Caleb, thank you.
All right, well, there you have it from Senior Pastor Jeff Johnson and Church Elder Eric Stewart talking about the past vision and the current vision for Cadiz Christian Church.
You wrote a letter and you signed your name. I read every word of it page by page. You said that you'll be coming for me soon. Oh my God, I'll be ready for you. I wanna run on greener pastures. I wanna dance on higher hills. I wanna drink from sweeter waters in the misty morning chill. And my soul is getting restless for the place where I belong. I can't wait to join the angels and sing. No, I can't wait to join the angels. sing my heaven song.